and welcome to Prdx Kids Live. Heather Thompson here to say hello, and we miss you. We're praying for your households, praying specifically that you would go deep in friendship with one another as we're figuring out how to handle COVID-19 right now. Our great hope is that as you go deep in friendship, your home would be full of peace and hope. We get to cling to Jesus, who is our Prince of Peace, when we don't know what the future holds. Isaiah 9 has lots of words that promise us good things about our King Jesus. Parents, we'll be here every Sunday before we go live to encourage you with the Prdx Kids lesson, and we want you to come find us on Instagram at Prdx Kids, where we'll have more content and more information to stay in touch with you throughout the week. Up next is Haley Bowden, our preschool director, with today's lesson.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am so excited to spend some time with you guys this morning. I hope you're in your living room. I hope you're still in your pajamas, and I hope you've eaten breakfast and are ready to learn about God. By the way, what did you have for breakfast this morning? You had what? I can't really hear you. Say it louder. No way. That's awesome. I had pancakes for breakfast, and I am ready to teach you about God. So today we are going to be learning about worship. Can someone tell me what worship is? Wait, what? I didn't hear you. Oh, you don't know what worship is. Okay, well, that's okay. Don't worry about it because I know what it is, and that's what I'm going to teach you today. So next time you're asked what is worship, you can answer it. So here's the answer to the question, what is worship? Worship is celebrating the greatness of God. Can you say that with me? Worship is celebrating the greatness of God. I'm going to teach you a few hand motions to help you remember that, and then we're going to practice together, okay? So worship is celebrating, can you show me your jazz hands? The greatness of God. Did you get that? Okay, let's do it together. Worship is celebrating the greatness of God. Okay, let's try one more time. Worship is celebrating the greatness of God. Guys, that was awesome. See how that works? When I ask what is worship, you can respond with that answer, and you have some hand motions to help you remember it. Okay, so before we learn our lesson, we're going to spend a little time getting our wiggles out. So I'm going to invite my friends Jordan and Faith to come help me play a game that I'm sure you've all played before. It's called Freeze Dance. Do y'all know how to play? So what we're going to do is we're going to play a song, and we're going to show our sisters and our brothers and our moms and our dads our best dance moves. But when the music stops, we have to freeze just like we are, okay? And if you're not supposed to move when the music's not playing. But as soon as the music starts back, you can keep showing us your best dance moves, okay? Are you ready? So everyone stand up, and you're going to dance with me, Jordan, and Faith. That was so much fun, but who is out of breath? I am. We just danced so much, but I hope that you had so much fun, and I know your dance moves were amazing. So Jordan and Faith, thank you so much for joining our dance party. Y'all can go get a cup of water because I know that I need one too. Thank y'all. Okay, so now that we've gotten our wiggles out, I mean, all of my wiggles are out, it is time to sing to God. So if you can stay standing on your feet, we're going to sing a song to God that you'll know, and you'll know the hand motions to it too, because we sing it on Sundays in our classrooms. Okay, now that we've gotten all of our wiggles out and we sang to God, will you sit down and join me on the floor? Because I want to teach you a story from the Bible. But before we jump into our story, I have a question for you. Was it hard for you to wait patiently during our game that we just played? When the music stopped and you had to freeze, did you want to dance so badly? Me too. It was so hard for me to be still. And you know what? In our story today, we're going to learn about God's people when it was hard for them to wait too. They didn't want to be patient and wait on God. And even instead of waiting for God, they started doing dances to a silly statue, just like we were dancing earlier. But the good news that we're about to learn is that Jesus always waits patiently for us, and he always waits to hear from God the Father. And Jesus talks to God the Father for us when we sin. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so our Bible story today comes from the second book of the Bible. Can everyone hold up a number 2? Good job. So the second book of the Bible is named Exodus. Can everyone say Exodus with me? I didn't hear you. Oh, now I heard you. Good job. Okay, so our story comes from Exodus, and it comes from Exodus chapter 32. And Moses wrote this story so that everyone will know God's true word. Isn't that awesome? Are you ready to hear the story? Okay, here we go. So after everything God had done for his people, they still disobeyed his commands. Who's disobeyed your parents' commands before? Me too. It's hard to obey all the time, isn't it? I know. So the first 2 commandments from God say that we should not have any other gods besides him and that we should not make idols for ourselves. Does anyone know what an idol is? Well, an idol is anything a person makes as important as God. But guess what? Nothing is as important as God in this whole world. He is the most important thing. But God's people in our story worshiped a golden calf instead of worshiping God. God was right to be angry with them when they worshiped something other than him. So when they started worshiping the golden calf, Moses asked God to forgive his people. And just like Moses asked God to forgive his people for worshiping a golden calf, did you know there's someone who has asked God to forgive us when we worship things other than God? His name is Jesus. And when we sin, Jesus talks to God for us. Isn't that awesome? That's how much he loves us. Jesus talks to God and asks God to forgive us. And guess what? God forgives us. So when we sin, we are forgiven when we trust in Jesus. And God forgives those who trust in Jesus. That's amazing. That's an amazing story of how much God loves us. That when we trust in Jesus, no matter what we do, God will always forgive us. Isn't that awesome? It feels so good to be loved unconditionally by a really good God, right? I know. Okay, so our time together is almost up. But before we go, I want to revisit our big picture question that we talked about at the very beginning. Do you remember that? Do you remember what the question was? I asked you at the beginning, what is worship? So can someone answer that for me? Do you know what it is? Okay, so if you remember, we had hand motions too. And worship is celebrating the greatness of God. So I'm going to ask it again, and then I want you to do the hand motions with me. So what is worship? Worship is celebrating the greatness of God. Okay, one more time. What is worship? Worship is celebrating the greatness of God. That's right. Y'all are doing awesome. Y'all have stayed so engaged this whole time, and I have loved getting to hang out with you this morning. So before we go, I want you to know that I love you and I miss you, and I will see you soon. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning on Prdx Kids Live.